She's a failure. Always has been. That's what my mom told everyone when I went to grad school. She said it again when I skipped Christmas. And again when I didn't send money to bail my sister out after her third DUI. But I showed up to the trial. Quiet. Uninvited. Sitting in the back row. My name is Dana. If you're reading this, stick with me. Have you ever been pushed aside by your own family, only to return so successful they couldn't even say your name out loud? The courtroom was full. My sister wore a neat blouse, trying to look innocent. My mom sat next to her, whispering that everything would be fine. I sat by myself. Hands in my lap. No expression. I didn't come to talk. I came to watch. These were the same people who called me too emotional, ungrateful, invisible. Then the judge walked in. He looked like he'd seen it all. He flipped through the file, then suddenly stopped. He looked up, scanned the room, and saw me. His eyes stayed on me. He leaned toward the microphone and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Wait, dear God. Governor Dana Walsh." You could hear a pin drop. My sister's lawyer froze. The court clerk dropped his pen. Even the bailiff looked shocked. And my mom? She went pale. I didn't move. I didn't smile. I just gave the judge a small nod. He sat up straight. "We're done here," he said. "This isn't going the way your family expected. Because the one they called a failure, the one they ignored and disrespected, is now the most powerful person in the room." Suddenly the silence wasn't awkward. It was fear. The whole room changed. You could feel the tension like lightning was about to strike. The judge cleared his throat. "We'll take a short break." But what he really meant was, what is she doing here? Because governors don't show up to random DUI cases. Not without security. Not without a reason. But I didn't come as the governor. I came as the daughter they abandoned. The sister they used to feel better about themselves. The one they always said didn't belong. I saw my mom whisper to my sister, "You didn't tell me she was coming." My sister said nothing. She didn't have to. She just stared at the floor, probably remembering all the times she laughed at my campaign. All those holidays she bragged about her job while I stayed quiet after working 80-hour weeks for the public. They said I'd never go far. That I was too boring. Too serious. But quiet girls rise. And when they get to the top they don't yell. They decide. During the break the judge came over. He looked nervous. "Governor, I didn't know. If I had." I cut him off gently. "I'm not here as the governor. Just observing." He nodded, but we both knew this case had just become much bigger. People started whispering outside. Reporters. Court staff. Even other lawyers. One leaned toward my mom and asked, "Is that Governor Walsh?" She didn't answer. Because how do you explain cutting off your daughter, only to watch her become the most powerful person in the building? Me. I stayed silent. And completely unapologetic. I didn't come to show off my power. I came to remind them, I am the power. When court started again, the whole room felt different. No one could look me in the eye. The judge sat down, suddenly more careful. He read the case file like it might explode. My sister sat up straight. Her lawyer whispered quickly in her ear. My mother still didn't move. Frozen. Clutching her purse like it had all the answers. Here's the truth no one talks about. When a woman rises quietly, the people who laughed at her don't know what to do when she turns back around. They were still stuck in the version of me they made up. The failure. The one who wasn't pretty, friendly, or obedient enough. The girl who read too much and smiled too little. The one who left and never came back. But I didn't leave with nothing. I carried every wound. Every insult. Every time they said I wasn't enough. And I turned it into change. Into laws. Into strength. While they were throwing parties for my sister's failed businesses, I was in rooms fixing healthcare. While they laughed that I couldn't keep a man, I was building housing programs that saved real families. And now I stood in front of them, the failure in a sharp navy suit, and suddenly no one dared move. The judge finally looked at the room. This case is being reassigned immediately. I'm stepping away. Conflict of interest. What he really meant. He didn't want to be part of the fallout. This wasn't just a normal DUI case anymore. It was tied to my name now. Then my sister finally spoke. Dana, please. I turned to her slowly. Now you remember my name. Silence. That's what guilt sounds like, when it realizes who it tried to erase. I stood up. No yelling. No prideful exit. I just looked at the bailiff and said, "I'm done watching," and walked down the aisle. Every eye followed me, including the ones that ignored me when I needed them. Because when you've been underestimated your whole life, you don't slam the door. You become the building. Outside the courtroom, the press was waiting. They didn't know why I was there yet. But someone had told them that Governor Dana Walsh had shown up to a minor DUI case. Cameras flashing. Questions flying. "Governor Walsh, are you involved in this case? Is the defendant related to you? Can you confirm she's your sister?" I didn't flinch. Didn't run. Didn't hide. I looked straight at a reporter and said calmly, "I was here as a private citizen." No further comment. Then I walked through the crowd. Through the noise. Like I always had. Because when you grow up being talked over, you learn to move with purpose, not permission. In the car, my phone lit up with missed calls. Mom 3. Claire, my sister 8. Unknown numbers 12. They were panicking. I knew it. But I didn't answer. I turned to my driver and said, "Take me to the state office." I had a meeting to lead on foster care reform. The same system my mother once said I was too emotional to understand. Now I was rewriting it. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally checked Clara's texts. "Dana, I'm sorry. You could have helped me. You could have warned me." Warn her? That I survived years of being called the family mistake. That I turned shame into strategy. That while they laughed at me, I was taking notes. So I'd never become them? No. I didn't owe her anything. But I did reply. You had their protection. I had their silence. You grew up thinking the world owed you kindness. I grew up thinking I had to earn it by giving it to everyone else. Now we're both grown. And this time I chose me. Message sent. Read. No reply. But the silence felt better than any fake apology. Because this time I wasn't the forgotten daughter in the corner. I was the headline. The one who didn't just leave the story. She rewrote it. The next day, every news feed lit up. Governor Dana Walsh attends sister's trial. Courtroom shocked by silent statement. Family drama goes public. They didn't know the full story. They didn't need to. One photo said it all. Me standing still in the courtroom. My mom frozen. My sister turning mid-sentence. The judge rising from his seat. That photo went viral. And suddenly people started asking, what kind of family ignores their daughter? Until the world doesn't. I didn't speak out. I let the silence speak for me. Because silence was their weapon. Now it was mine. That afternoon I got a call from a blocked number. I answered. It was my mother. Her voice was quiet. Tired. Dana, we didn't know. We thought you were just avoiding us. I said nothing. He kept going. Your sister's in real trouble. They might take her license forever. He might go to jail. You could help, just say something. I looked out my office window at the Capitol lawn and replied. You called me a failure for years. Now that I've made it without your help, you want me to clean up her mess. She's your sister, she said softly. No, I replied. She was your golden girl. Now she's just an adult with a record. And I ended the call. No yelling. No drama. Just truth. Because I spent years trying to be seen. Now they couldn't unsee me. That night I got an email from the judge. What your presence did in that courtroom will be studied. Not because of what you said, but because of how many people finally listened. And for the first time, I believed it. My silence said more than all their years of noise. By the end of the week, Clara's sentence was confirmed. License gone. Probation. Massive fines. That's when they started begging for help. Aunt Lydia called first. Dana, your mom is heartbroken. Clara's ashamed. Isn't that enough? Enough? Was it enough when they whispered about me every holiday? When Mom called my grad school plans just a phase? When they said I was cold because I didn't smile for their approval? No, Aunt Lydia. This wasn't about shame. This was about accountability. Claire didn't just drink too much. She believed the rules didn't apply to her. Because no one ever made her face consequences. Now those rules had a name. Mine. And I didn't need anyone's permission. That night, while going over policy documents with my chief of staff, she looked at me and asked, Governor, are you okay? I paused. Then I smiled. Yeah, I'm more than okay. I'm free. Because real freedom isn't power. It's not needing the love of people who only respected control. My sister was learning something new. A last name won't save you from consequences. And the quiet girl they ignored? She now writes the laws. The courtroom never called me again. But the state legislature did. They asked me to speak on ethical leadership. And that photo of me standing in silence at the trial? It's framed in my office now. A reminder. No matter how deep they tried to bury me, I didn't just rise. I made the ground beneath them shake. A month later, I hosted a big policy summit in Washington, D.C. Senators, governors, judges, even guests from other countries, all gathered in the Capitol's East Hall. I stood at the podium in a navy suit. No notes. No script. Because the story I carried didn't need one. I spoke about privilege, about fairness, about how consequences are supposed to be equal, but often aren't. I didn't name anyone. But people who had read the headlines knew exactly who I was talking about. And those who hadn't? They still felt it. After my speech, I stayed to shake hands, pose for photos, and speak with guests. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. Governor Walsh. I turned. It was Judge Levinson from Clara's trial. He held out his hand. What you did in that courtroom, he said. You didn't say a word. But you still taught us something important. I smiled. Silence, I said, is a language. You just have to decide who deserves to understand it. He smiled back, nodded, and walked away. I stood there for a moment, letting it all sink in. Because years ago I would have done anything for my family to be proud of me. No, I didn't need their praise. I had peace. Then the summit coordinator handed me a note. There's someone downstairs. Says it's personal. I already had a feeling who it was. I walked past the tall columns into the golden evening light. It was Clara. No makeup. Hair tied back. No act this time. She stepped toward me, holding a manila envelope. I'm not here to beg, she said. I just wanted to say thank you for not ruining me. You could have destroyed everything. I tilted my head. You were already doing that. She looked down. I'm getting help. I'm trying. I didn't hug her. I didn't comfort her. But I didn't walk away either. Instead I said, don't do it for me. Do it for the person you are when no one's watching. That's who matters now. She nodded, teary-eyed, and handed me the envelope. Inside were old childhood photos. Before everything got messy. Then she turned and left. And I stood on the Capitol steps, envelope in hand, realizing something big. My story didn't need revenge. It needed understanding. They didn't break me. They built the fire I lead with now. Back at home, I left the envelope on the kitchen counter. Didn't rush to open it. I just looked at it like it might still hurt. That night, I made tea and sat by the window. No reporters. No security. No pressure. Just me. Eventually, I opened it. Inside were old photos. Me and Clara's kids laughing in the sprinkler. Dad at the grill. Mom pretending to care. One photo stopped me. It was me, young, wearing big glasses, holding a science fair ribbon. Standing alone. No one clapping. Not even my family. But I was smiling. Even then, I knew how to celebrate myself. That little girl didn't need an audience. She just needed someone to believe in her. And one day she became that person. I framed that photo next to my inauguration photo. Two girls looking back at me. One ignored. One unstoppable. Both of them, me. The next morning my mom called. I declined. Then blocked the number. Not because I was angry. But because healing means choosing who still gets access to your peace. Clara's story wasn't mine to fix. And my silence wasn't punishment. It was peace. The woman they called a failure. She built homes for the homeless. The girl they called dramatic. She wrote laws to protect children from abuse. The daughter they erased. She became the leader the country turns to during crisis. They wrote me out of the family. So I wrote myself into history. Not by yelling. Not by demanding a seat. But by building the entire room.